This podcast contains adult themes and graphic violence. Listener discretion is advised.
A commercial-free version of this podcast is available on Patreon for $1 per month. Patreon.com/Beyond Contempt podcast. I'm Renee, and this is Beyond Contempt True Crime. I rarely play audio clips because this is not that type of show. I'm making an exception today. I get nervous when a police officer follows me, even when I'm only going a few miles over the speed limit. This person escaped from prison, but was stopped by a police officer. They had such a pleasant conversation that he basically moonwalked away to freedom. You're listening to episode 57, Richard McNair. Richard Lee McNair was born on December 19, 1958. He and his three younger brothers grew up in South Central Oklahoma with a father who was a reserve police officer. Richard joined the Air Force and moved to Minot, North Dakota. He was working as an Air Force military police officer on base and also worked with the Minot Police Department as an informant. The local police appreciated Richard and thought he did excellent work. During his time as an informant, his efforts led to at least one large cocaine bust. One of Richard's brothers thought he was the smartest person he'd ever met. His brother looked up to him and believed he was a good man, right up until Richard changed. November 17, 1987, was the day Richard went from enforcing the law to breaking the law. Richard McNair walked into the grain elevator at the Farmers Union Elevator Company. Richard Kitzman had been called into work later than normal and was in the office. McNair walked in and fired a round that just grazed Richard Kitzman's right temple, which dropped him to the floor. As he laid on the ground, huddled in a ball, thinking that his life was over, McNair stood over him and let off several rounds. One bullet entered his calf and went through his thigh. Another bullet shattered his wrist. Thankfully, some of those rounds missed. But Kitzman was bleeding, and he laid in stillness, playing dead. McNair moved on to a man who was sitting outside in a truck. 47-year-old Jerry Theis was a truck driver from Circle Pines, Minnesota, and he was waiting for a load of grain while he was eating ice cream. Richard Kitzman crawled under a desk and called 911. During his call, more gunshots were fired. Richard Kitzman told the dispatcher that the shooter was killing Jerry, who did not survive the incident. It was a few weeks after the shootings when police finally closed in on capturing Richard McNair. Their investigation led them to a storage locker that he rented underneath a different name. They found all the items that he had stolen during the robbery, as well as 10 empty shell casings from the incident. The sheriff believed that McNair viewed the casings as trophies, which is why he didn't dispose of them. When they brought McNair down to the station for questioning, they convinced him to hand over the murder weapon, which was a .38 snub-nose. They convicted Richard McNair of murder and attempted murder, for which they gave him 2 life sentences. They also convicted him for the robbery, and he received 30 years. The whole situation was difficult for the McNair family. His parents, who were divorced, as well as his 3 brothers, basically disowned him after his conviction. His brother Phil said, "Of course he needs to pay his time. He caused a lot of shame and heartache to our family that seems like it never ends." The thing about Richard McNair was that he wasn't content staying in prison and serving his time. He had both the skills and the motivation to escape from prison. And that was exactly what he did, 3 times. McNair's first escape happened in February 1988. Right after they initially arrested him for the murders. He was sitting in the police station and was handcuffed to a chair when detectives stepped out of the room for a few moments. McNair immediately went to work and pulled lip balm from his pocket. He greased his wrist up, and it was enough to slip out of the cuffs. McNair started running and led police on a chase through Minot, North Dakota. He ran up 3 flights of stairs and found himself on the roof of a building. The police were right on his heels and had him surrounded. Instead of surrendering, McNair jumped for a tree branch, but that branch broke and he ended up on the ground with a hurt back. Police made an easy arrest, and McNair was under their control within 3 hours of his escape. He had to spend some time in the hospital, but eventually moved back to the jail. They had to rearrange some inmates, and they moved Richard McNair to another cell. After the move, deputies found that he had chiseled 2 of the cinder blocks in the cell. When the blocks were removed, they found sheets and towels tied into a rope, along with a flashlight. He planned to fast rope out of the windows of the jail. A few years went by, but freedom was still on Richard McNair's mind. In October 1992, he made another escape attempt from the North Dakota State Penitentiary in Bismarck. McNair and 2 other inmates crawled through the ventilation ducts to the outside world. The 3 men weren't all equally successful in keeping their freedom. One inmate was captured a few hours after escape, and the other man was caught a few days later. Richard McNair immediately changed his appearance. He grew his hair out and dyed it blonde. McNair stole cars, and he spent much of his time traveling around the United States. His joyride ended 10 months later in July 1993, when he was arrested in Grand Island, Nebraska. The North Dakota Department of Corrections had a massive problem on their hands with Richard McNair, so they sent the escape artist to the Minnesota Correctional Facility in Oak Park Heights. When McNair arrived at his new home, he quickly understood that escaping this prison would be impossible. He took part in a sit-down prison strike, and this was enough for Minnesota to ship him back to North Dakota. They transferred him to United States Penitentiary, Florence High, which had housed Gary Ridgway and Ross Ulbricht for a time. This federal prison was escape-proof, so McNair put in a transfer request using his parents in Oklahoma as the reason. They moved him to United States Penitentiary, Pollock, Louisiana. On April 5, 2006, Richard McNair did it again and escaped from USP Pollock. His job in the prison involved repairing tattered mail bags. McNair worked at this prison job for several months and was methodically planning his escape. The mail bags were typically shipped out on shrink-wrapped pallets, and McNair buried himself underneath all the bags. He had a breathing tube so he wouldn't suffocate. Around 9:45 a.m., a forklift carried the pallet to a warehouse located outside of the federal prison's walls. The prison staff predictably took lunch at the same time each day, at 11 a.m., and that was when McNair cut his way out of this homemade escape cargo. Richard McNair was a free man again, and he walked right out of the warehouse. The prison staff wouldn't realize that McNair was gone until much later, after he had a 6-hour lead on police. McNair headed to Alexandria, Louisiana, where he planned to steal a car along with other supplies to sustain him. He walked down the railroad tracks and ran into a Ball, Louisiana police officer named Carl Bordelon. The officer captured their interaction from a camera that was mounted on his police car. A few notes before you listen to the audio. McNair was relaxed during the 10-minute conversation, which put the officer at ease. He gave reasonable answers to every question that he was asked. The photo that the officer had was older and was of poor quality, so McNair did not look like his prison snapshot. McNair wasn't carrying a license or any type of identification, and gave the officer 2 different names during their conversation, which the officer didn't catch. This also allowed McNair to give the officer a slightly different but believable birth year. This was several months after Hurricane Katrina hit Louisiana, and it made sense that McNair would be in town helping on roofing projects.
Jabbo. Is he? You live around here, bud? No. Where you live at?
Down the road by Pineville.
Pineville?
Uh-huh.
Okay. Do you have any form of identification on you?
No, man.
What's your name?
Robert Jones.
Robert Jones?
Uh-huh. Why, I'm not supposed to be on the track?
No, that's not the problem right now. What's your address?
I don't have an address. I'm at the hotel. We're working on houses and stuff like that, the roofing.
Roofing?
Yep.
Okay.
For my brother.
All right. What it is, we got an escapee.
Oh, shit. Where from?
A prison.
There's a prison here?
Yeah.
Man, it's hot.
Hey, this is Carl. Subject wear glasses? Nothing about glasses. Can you find out? I'm out with a white male on the tracks at Gilly Williams.
You can call my little brother.
Where about? Take your glove off. Any tattoos or anything? Flip it over. No, no, he's clean.
Oh, this I'm 50 years old.
How old is your guy? You're how old?
50. I was born in 56.
You said born in 56. 58. Any kind of details you can give me, huh? Color eyes you got?
Green. Well, kind of a turquoise blue.
Turquoise blue?
Yeah.
You want to give me some more?
Call my little brother, man.
Do I? No, it's not. No, it's short hair. My guy's got skin cut hair. He's got a beard, well, a goatee like. How old is that picture? Yeah, I know. I got the same thing. You can't see shit on it. What kind of scar? Okay. All right. Let me just verify. He says his brother's staying at the motel. Let me verify that, and if so, I'll just cut him loose. All right. Thanks.
I guarantee I'm not.
You know the bad thing about it?
What's that?
You're matching up to him.
Well, that sucks, doesn't it?
Yeah. Where are you staying at?
That Titusville or Titus Inn? Titus Inn? Little old town.
Where's that at?
I don't even know the address. We just got into town about a week ago, and he dropped me off to jog. I always jog about 12 miles a day.
Where'd he drop you off at?
Up there on that road by, there's some construction going on up there, some houses. And he dropped me off, and he'll be back at the hotel in about probably 10 minutes, 15 minutes.
Who y'all work for?
It's his,
I know. What's the name of the company?
Phil's Roofing.
Okay.
Phil's Roofing.
Did you go through a briar patch or something?
Well, yeah, roofing. I always roof in shorts and cut my scratching up on, the roofing.
That's
stuff.
why your knees are all cut up?
Yeah.
Or y'all got pads?
Huh?
Y'all wear pads?
Hell no, too hot. They the pads rub your back of your legs and stuff.
Where are you from?
Huh? We're originally Dallas, Texas.
I mean, that's where y'all
that's
stay
where
at?
we're
Out of Dallas, Texas? What's your name again?
Jimmy Jones.
Put yourself in my position.
Well, yeah, but I'm not.
I know.
Come on,
I'm
man.
not throwing you against
some.
some. Hey, you wouldn't believe what them guys do. I mean, they got years and years to think about how they're gonna do it. Now, when I crossed the tracks down there, I saw you running. I said, "Well, how lucky can I be?"
No. I'm not no prison escapee.
How far you got to jog to?
Pineville. Hopefully, he's on these tracks. I'll jog.
You gonna hit?
Huh?
Or you don't know where you're at?
Yeah, I'm at Ball.
No, I'm talking about you don't know where you're at as far as how far away you are from Pineville.
Well, I would say it's 8 miles.
I'm trying to think where you're gonna hit out at.
Well,
Procter and Gamble.
Right through Pineville, right?
Right, you're gonna be right there at Procter
by
and
the
Gamble.
Walmart and all that stuff.
That's
Yeah.
where you.
So,
Where's y'all's motel at?
okay, let me think now. Because like I say, Phil always drives. Okay, Walmart's right there. Go right at Walmart, and there's a road. Is it 165?
Right.
165 that goes south, and we're about 3 blocks. South.
Code 4.
Little old tiny hotel. I mean, it's clean, but it's family owned.
Little old tiny hotel.
Yeah, like a motel deal. You park up there, and there's we've got a camper, and we were trying to get into the camper place, but we didn't get into the camper place yet. There's a camper place between Pineville, and what's the next town?
Alexandra?
No, Alexander's the other way.
You got Ball,
town.
Pineville, Tioga?
I think that's Tioga. There's a little, you drive down the road down, and there's a place for campers and stuff. And that's where we usually stay, but we couldn't get in there. I promise you, I'm not no damn prison escape.
You'd have done run by now. You know that yourself. You'd have done run by now.
No. Well, if you can't verify me, I'll be at the...
Did you see anybody or anything?
There's some kids up there playing.
That's all you saw?
Yeah, the kids. Was that you that blew your siren?
Uh-uh.
There's a siren, and then some kids were screaming, some little kids playing on the tracks. And the guy
probably told them to get off of them.
Oh, did you?
Well,
can I jog on them? Because
I don't care,
okay,
personally.
That's the only way I know how to get back.
Don't get run over by a train.
There isn't any. That's why I picked this.
I'm sure you can hear him way in advance.
Yeah, but that's why these are rusted, right?
What, a train?
They go down this road?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, shit. See, I saw it rusted, and I thought, hell, I can jog on this.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, okay.
Oh, yeah, they'll come. Not as much as our other track. Other track about every
Thank
hour.
you, sir. I'm sorry to have to hold you up. But
Hey, no, I'm just doing my job,
I
man.
know you are.
But, yeah, just be careful. You'll probably get stopped again, okay? Don't be alarmed by it. Borderline, yeah.
Okay, you'll be on till, well, this shift.
I'll be on until we find this on gun.
Well, my dad's an auxiliary detective.
Where at?
In Dallas.
Oh, okay.
The posse is what they call it.
Yeah.
He's 70 years old, and he's been doing it since 63.
Still enjoys it.
Man.
Yeah.
But if somebody else stops me, I just have them call.
I mean, they're going to go through the same spiel and everything with
they
you.
Can call you.
But, yeah, I mean, don't be alarmed by it. Don't be upset about it. You know, they'll just stop you for a minute, check you out and everything. But if you do jog again in the future, carry some ID with you.
See, I'm sorry. When I was in the military, we never carried our ID on base and stuff. So.
On base is different.
Yeah, I know.
You know, they assure you if you can cross on, you got something.
Yep.
But out here, you're in civilian life, you know.
Were you in the military?
No, I wasn't.
I'm retired Army.
But, yeah, in the future, if you're going to jog again, that way, I mean, if you get run over by a train, I know who you are. I don't have to start second guessing who he is, you know.
Can you write down your phone number, your cell phone number, so I can have whoever call you?
Just call. You got a cell phone with you?
No, hell no. I don't even have a cell phone or anything.
Just call 911 is all you got to do. They'll get a hold of us.
All right.
That's our quick line there.
You have a good day now.
Be careful, buddy.
Thank you.
All right.
Richard McNair walked away from Officer Bordelian a free man. He later said that if the officer figured out who he was and tried to capture him, he planned to run. McNair claimed that he would never have used any force against the officer. Officer Carl Bordelian worked for the Ball Police Department for the rest of his career. He was promoted to assistant police chief, but shortly after that promotion, they found him inside the town hall, where he died of a heart attack during an overnight shift on January 10, 2015, at age 51. The officer was best known for his 10-minute conversation with Richard Lee McNair that made its way into the media and was spread across the internet. He was criticized and nitpicked for years to come. This video was far more costly for McNair because now the world knew what he looked, sounded, and acted like. We're going to take a quick break to hear from our sponsor. Thank you to Smile Brilliant for sponsoring this episode of Beyond Contempt True Crime. I've done a multi-state move and had 4 addresses in less than a year. Needless to say, it's been a lot. Many of us have been living through stressful times, and unfortunately, that has created some bad habits, like grinding our teeth at night. Grinding your teeth can damage your enamel or give you tooth sensitivities. It's always better to prevent this kind of damage because it's something that's not reversible. An estimated 40 million people damage their teeth from grinding their jaws while they sleep or day clenching at their jobs. If you're a grinder or clincher, stop over at smilebrilliant.com and pick a custom-fitted night guard using their lab direct process at a fraction of the price charged by dentists. You know, you only get one set of real choppers, so you better take care of them. Use Beyond at checkout for 20% off site-wide at smilebrilliant.com. A digital model of your teeth will be kept on file, so reordering is easy and affordable. They have many great products. I've actually been a customer of theirs for a while and love their whitening system too. So that's BEYOND for 20% off at smilebrilliant.com. Now, back to the show. On April 13, 2006, the U.S. Marshals escalated their search and placed Richard McNair on their most wanted list. Prior to McNair, an inmate hadn't escaped federal prison since 1991. McNair left the United States and crossed over into British Columbia through Blaine, Washington. On April 28, 2006, McNair was at a beach parking lot, sitting inside of a stolen car, when an RCMP officer asked him to step out of the vehicle. He did what he knew best, and he ran. The officer impounded the vehicle, and 2 days had passed when they realized that prison escapee Richard McNair had been within their grasp. One RCMP officer had recognized him from America's Most Wanted, which initially aired his profile on April 8th. Plus, the fingerprints in the stolen car belonged to Richard McNair. However, it took several days to confirm this information, which allowed him a lengthy head start. Officers also found a digital camera full of headshots and figured McNair was trying to make fake identification cards. When McNair fled, RCMP took the computer that was left in his car. After this computer seizure, McNair quit storing his personal info on laptops and placed it on USB sticks instead. In May 2006, McNair drove back across the border through Blaine, Washington in a stolen Subaru Outback and headed east across the United States to Minnesota. He snuck back into Canada, where he passed through southern Ontario and then continued on to Vancouver. He wanted to buy a piece of land by Williston Lake in British Columbia, but the property had some pretty large negatives, including having been through a drought and beetle infestation. And there was only one road that led into the property, which wasn't prime if one needed to escape. Several months passed along the holidays, and Richard McNair was still wandering around Canada as a free man in 2007. He mountain biked in the Laurentian Highlands of Quebec and spent time at Lake St. John. McNair wanted to go back to the United States via Derby Line, Vermont, but decided against this risky plan. The small town of Derby Line was less than 700 people, but had extra security since it sat less than 45 miles away from the Canadian border. He stayed in Canada and kept traveling from place to place, but his freedom ride was about to get bumpy. America's Most Wanted was relentless in keeping Richard McNair in the public eye. They featured him 12 times on their TV program from April 8, 2006 to November 24, 2007, and also 9 times on the radio. The RCMP received over 50 reports that Canadian citizens spotted him all over the country. McNair would tune into America's Most Wanted to see if they featured him. Then he would lie low and skip going to the gas station or grocery store for a few days. He also scoured for stories that were published about him on the internet, and even had one laptop that was devoted to monitoring a website which was dedicated to all things Richard McNair. The New Yorker even published an 11-page article on him in fall 2006. A marshal from Louisiana worked with a criminal profiler to trick McNair into giving up his location. The officer pretended to be a woman and reached out to McNair via the web. She offered to hide him in her basement. He caught on to the ploy and didn't fall for the trap. McNair was alert and suspicious of his surroundings at all times. In Chilliwack, British Columbia, he rented a motel room and ran to the store. When he returned to the motel, the entire area was swimming with SWAT team members. McNair immediately fled, believing they discovered where he was staying. He tuned into a local radio station and learned that SWAT had been in the area for a hostage situation. In a bold move, he returned to the motel and used his camera to film the whole incident. With Photoshop, a digital camera, a scanner, and a pet ID website, of all things, he produced a fake Alaskan driver's license that served as his identification. He was very resourceful with his equipment and set up the video camera so he could effectively cut his own hair, including the back of his head. McNair was adept at stealing cars and used the knowledge he gained as a former car sales associate. He avoided cars with GPS systems and picked common cars that everyone owned in both model and color. McNair was familiar with the general layout of dealerships and knew how to avoid security systems, find car keys, and locate any cache in the building. On October 24, 2007, Richard McNair's freedom had reached its final chapter. In Nash Creek, New Brunswick, an off-duty RCMP officer's suspicions grew after studying McNair's expensive-looking cube van that had non-professional, self-tinted windows in the vehicle's rear. Plus, the license plate was from another province. Officer Dan Mellinson estimated this van was stolen property and was likely used to smuggle cigarettes or alcohol. The off-duty officer scribbled down the license plate number and alerted RCMP in Campbellton, which was where McNair was heading. The next day, a rookie RCMP officer spotted McNair driving the van in downtown Campbellton and started a low-speed pursuit. This car chase ended with McNair ditching his vehicle and running away on foot. But this time, they caught him. Dan Mellinson, the RCMP officer who called in McNair's license plate, was awarded the Looking Beyond the License Plate Grand Prize in October 2008, since he played a major role in the capture of one of America's most wanted. They placed McNair in the Atlantic Institution, which was a federal max prison in New Brunswick. One officer asked McNair about the reward offered for his capture. McNair said it was only $25,000 and claimed that it was so small because the government put their money into a larger reward for Osama bin Laden. They extradited Richard McNair to the United States and sent him to ADX Florence, a supermax prison in Colorado. ADX has been called the Alcatraz of the Rockies since it is the most secure of all supermax prisons. They have housed the most serious of inmates at ADX Florence, including the Boston Marathon bomber and Unabomber Ted Kaczynski. Authorities relegated McNair to a 12-by-7-foot cell for most of the hours of his day. All internet access was removed, and they intensely scrutinized his mail. McNair was always a smooth-tongued diplomat, even when incarcerated, and said, "Thank God for prisons. There are some very sick people in here. Animals you would never want living near your family, or the public in general. I don't know how corrections staff deal with it. They get spit on, shit on, abused, and I have seen them risk their own lives and save a prisoner many times." Tim Schutzel was the warden from the North Dakota State Prison from which Richard McNair had escaped. McNair sent the warden a Christmas card while he was on the run. He also used the warden's name to apply for a cell phone. The warden said, "I think he's a smart guy. I really don't know what his issues are. I think he's a psychopath who likes to think he's smarter than police and corrections people. Maybe that's why he used my name." The warden was excited to hear about McNair's capture. Richard Kitzman was the man McNair shot in the grain elevator but survived, while his friend, Jerry Theis, had been murdered. 2 decades had passed, but the emotional scars remained. He also had an egg-sized scar on his wrist, which served as a visual reminder of the day his life changed. Kitzman was comforted because they'd finally caught Richard McNair. Prison was the only place McNair belonged, to keep him from hurting anyone else. Thank you so much for joining me for this episode of Beyond Contempt. Please visit BeyondContemptPodcast.com for the links to the sources and music used in this episode. Research, writing, editing, audio production, and sound design were performed by me, Renee. I want to thank patrons Levita M., Eric W., and Emily. Sorry for the delay, but I'm sending your stickers out this weekend. If I owe anyone else a sticker, please contact me via Patreon so I can take care of it. Thank you for supporting the show. If you like the show, please leave me a positive review on Apple Podcasts or Spotify. Thank you so much, everyone.